Okay, hi everyone, and welcome back to one of my live streams. Today I'm just having a bit of a mess around. I've been having a tidy up. Yes, it does happen. And I found one of my very old sketches from, oh gosh, over 10 years ago. And it gives you an idea of roughly the style that I was using, what I was into, and my general thoughts. At the time, as a kid, I was trying to make a colouring book. Didn't happen, and now the whole world's obsessed with colouring books. So, lesson learned on that one. But today I'm just going to have a play around and see if I can actually make these images into something more of the style that I would be using nowadays. So, I'm using micron pens with archival ink. Doesn't have to be for this because it's just a play around. And then hopefully, if I get time, I'm going to colour them with some of the Spectrum Noir. Is perhaps Noir? Pencil. That's another thing. Pens, and they're a dye-based pen, like Copics. They're non light fast, but I'll tell you more about that when we get on to that. So off we go. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm going over the general outline with a slightly thicker pen. This is to just redo it and just go over the main issue areas, and then I'll come through again with a much finer pen and add in the detail and make a few more changes. Except like normal, the pen that I'm after isn't to hand. Normally I do keep all my pens to hand, but like I said, I've been tidying up so everything is everywhere. Here we go. Okay, so that's one down, and let's go for another one. So you notice one of the first things I'm doing is changing the eye shape, because if these animals were predatory, the eye would be more forward facing instead of side on. Think of foxes and rabbits. So a fox's face, the eyes are forward facing like a human's, whereas a rabbit, the eyes are more on the side for looking around for the fox. So, hence changing a few of the eye shapes to fit more with what the character designs were. And there's another one done. As you can see, by just adding in tiny bits of detail and things like the fenestras in the skulls. Oh, fenestra, that's a window. So gaps where creatures like dinosaurs and birds have got the openings for the nose and hollow points within the skull. Those are called fenestra, and the one around the nose is called the nares. Fact of the day. And my jaw clicked. Ouch. So, tell you what, let's go on to some colouring. The reason I'm saying that is that I really fancy having a go at this sea creature, seahorse kind of idea. The thing is, if I, even though this is a photocopy, if I go and ink it, with the black pen and then put the markers on top, the black pen's going to fade in. I don't know quite the science behind it. It could be something to do with the alcohol in the markers. But if I colour it first and then put the black on top, it should remain much crisper and clean on the outlines. So that's what we're going to do. Right. Now I've got two types of Spectrum Noir pens. I've got the latest new ones, the Illustrator ones, which are the white ones. And then I've got the original bunnies, the big chunky black ones that Spectrum Noir came out with. I've had a couple of goes with them, and in all honesty, apart from the smell, they smell very, very strongly of marzipan. Not too sure on that one. The texture to hold the original ones are chunky, and when you've got small hands like I have, my hands are about the size of a 9-year-old's on average. Tiny hands, it is hard to grip and it does hurt your hands after a while. The Illustrator ones, much nicer shape, very much like the Copics shape, so the Copic sketch. They're still chunkier, but then we are looking at a cheaper pen. Well, hypothetically. I say that because there is not a price yet for the refills of the Spectrum Noir illustrators. I did ask the company, but no information was forthcoming on that one, and no price definitely to them. But they both of the Spectrum Noirs should be refillable. As to when we get the refills, only time shall tell. But as we, well, most of us know, the Copics you can refill. Yes, they can be expensive, but you do get a really good amount of ink for your coin. Now, I'm just trying to work out my colours here. Now, you'd think that I could just look at the lid, wouldn't you? No, sirree. The biggest difference, I would say, says she, with the Spectrum Noir and the Copics is that with a Copic you can roughly tell the colour from the lid, or you can look at your colour chart. Spectrum Noir on the other hand, you can't. You cannot trust the lid as far as you can throw it, because the lid in this case shows what I would actually call a duck egg blue, but the pen is showing a turquoise. Yeah, that gets confusing, which is not the colour that I want. And yet that says eye blue, which would be hypothetically indigo blue, I think. TB1, let's try that. So a nice skyish blue. Still darker, not quite there. With some of the colours it's very, very, very extreme on the differences. So before you even start using these pens, yeah, see this one, that's very close, only a couple of gradients up on the original TB1, but TB3 is much more purplish, and the lid doesn't show you that at all. So just be very, 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 very aware that the pen that you pick may not be the pen that you actually want. I found this out the hard way. Yeah. Then they go too bright. My apologies for dilly-dallying. There's TB2 and TB1 definitely colour match. But you can do your colour charts and whatnot, but like I say, just if you have to and you don't have a colour chart, don't just grab a pen like you would say with the Copics. You just grab one and you know that what you're picking is what you're getting. That's meant to be blue-grey too. I'm actually getting a bit of a mess here because none of these colours are matching their lids right now. Actually, blue-grey R1 might come in handy. So far I've only got two colours and I really need a dark colour, but I'm not going as dark as these ones want me to. So sometimes you have to think outside the box. Ooh, that is way out. Ladies and gentlemen, HB3 is not what it shows on the lid. And I think even the camera can pick that up. That's, yeah. See, if I just grabbed a pen, we'll be looking at a mess. I mean, they're very, very, very saturated with the dye. I'll give them credit for that. They really are. But the inconvenience of not having a proper colour match is it's not really acceptable, and to say the truth. In fact, we're going to swap colours. We're going to do. Gonna have to, because I just can't get a match. We're going to go for BT4, which I think I know the match for. IBI, indigo, blue, indigo, and hopefully IB2. No, can't go for IB2. Well, maybe we can. This is really annoying me now. Seriously, this is actually really, really annoying me. These aren't really the colours I want. But part of me actually just right now wants to turn around and grab my Copics and run. But this is not the right way. Oh, come on. Blue teal one? Blue teal one? Blue teal 3? Oh, no. Green teal 2? Yes. Right, so after some faff diddling around, and that one I'm going to put to the side. I'm not happy with that. These are some of the colours that I've picked. Like I said, definitely if you're going to use Spectrum Noir, get a good colour chart, make a good colour chart. On the subject of the bleed and the amount of dye that comes out, they do go through the paper very fast. That's why I've got cardboard underneath here. Normally I would actually be using just normal paper or scrap paper. In this case I'm photocopied onto carbon paper, so I have no idea what mess this is going to make. Right, but let's go. Now with my Copics, I've actually always found that I've not needed to saturate the paper with ink before going ahead. Apparently with these pens you've got to saturate the paper and keep it wet to work with. So almost like those dye pens that have just come out. Is it Winsor Newton or Derwent? I think it's Winsor Newton. So that's another weeny issue. So you can't work over a whole piece in one go. You've got to go back forward. So hopefully everybody is extremely patient. And I hate to say my patience I don't have much of. Oh, and like with Copics, make sure that you open both ends just to release some of the pressure in there, because there's no doubt you guys know when pressure builds up in your pens you're likely to get a massive ink blob. And Crafter's Companion haven't mentioned about the ink blob, but it's something to just be aware of. So in this case I'm just adding a little bit of feathered shadow. So even though I've not got my new sketch work down, I still roughly know where it's going to go. In fact, I'm going to need the acetate. Now there's a technique that you can do with these pens. If you've got a colour that's really dark and a colour that's really light, to blend them, you take a piece of acetate, scribble on it, squibbly, and you pick it up with the next colour down that you're using. So I've put the B4 down on the acetate, and I'm going to pick it up with the what am I going to pick it up with? The IB GT2. Oh, IB1. We'll pick it up with the IB1. So I swipe it along the acetate, pick it up, put it down, pick it up. And what they also say on the website is, instead of with Copics you go over your work to blend out the whole thing, they say only work from the tips of what you've already done. And pick up. And pick up. And then just wipe your pen on a piece of paper, quick spin, just to take off any excess ink. Now, where's the IB2 that I was not keen on? Do that again, but with the IB2. Completely different. And this time we're going to pick it up with the G2. The Spectrum Noir pens do have the thing on the body to say which is chisel and nib, and like the Copics they also have a small grey band, just indicates where the one of the ends is. Spectrum Noir base pens come with a chisel tip and a bullet tip. You can buy a brush tip for them, which I'm tempted on doing, in all honesty, because I'm so used to working with brush tips from the Copics. But the Illustrator pens, now they do have a brush nib and a bullet tip. And it's quite a fine one. Right, so that's that one. Wipe that off. And just back with the BT1. This time I'm using the just to blend it out. They do change colour quite dramatically once the alcohol evaporates, so your room temperature may change what you see. There's a tail. A tail of a tail. Sadly, when you're doing a large piece of work, it's not really convenient to work in small circles. Shove that to the side. Let's go for this one. Okay, this is the... Actually, no, I shouldn't, because I haven't worked out my toner for that one. Right. So we're going to go for the lightest colour. They bleed quite extensively to the degree that they bleed outside the lines if you're not careful. So sometimes it's better to mark out where you're colouring and then colour into those areas. And that way you've got that border that just helps stop the saturation from going absolutely silly. This is where it gets tricky, is that these pens, the original Spectrum Noirs, are not really designed for that fine detail. So you have to really tip the pen onto its tip to go fine detail. And remembering you need to keep a very light hand when doing that as well, because of the way the ink's coming out. Sorry, I just realised the camera's not really showing much of the drawing, is it? Duh. Oh, that's better. Spectrum Noir and Crafter's Companion don't recommend using the circle method that you often see being used with Copics because of the way the die comes out. I've got a bit of overlay over that. I'm not going to fuss around with that though. So to get an even coverage, you have to just keep on layering, if you like. As the alcohol burns up, it should give you a nice, smooth coverage. Now, these pens are meant to be non-toxic as far as I'm aware, though, like I say, they do smell very strongly of marzipan. Almost like a Sharpies, but maybe not that bad. So I would definitely recommend, if you're going to work with these, work in a ventilated room. And you should really, with any markers, definitely work in a ventilated area. It's not worth the risk. And I think we'll add that's the eye. So let's have a look on the other side. Ta-da! So yeah, it's bled through actually not too badly, so I haven't oversaturated it as yet. Okay, I'm gonna add some shadow in there. I'd say I can't help using the small circular motion. Old habits die hard. Trapezium goes across there. So once again, I'm just adding in little bits of detail that I will be inking in later. And then back to the IBI. So this time I'm just going around the edges. Just to try and blend that out. But because the ink's dried, it's not going to look great. Also, I think I've jumped too many tonal layers. So we're going to come in with the G2 and just try and fix that a little bit. So this is where keeping the ink wet is almost like an essential, and straight away I can see I'm losing. Where's my BT4? I'm going to have to bring in another colour. So what I've had to do is bring in a lot more colour than I'd planned, just to blend out those areas. So yeah, when using these pens, you got to work fast. blender pen seems to be more designed for correcting mistakes than physical blending. Apparently it's just pure alcohol kind of solution stuff, so it does act more like a bleach. But then if you use a very dark ink and make a mistake, it's extremely difficult to get rid of that. Right, change of plan. Right, we're going to come in with that BT2 that I wasn't too keen on. I'm just going back over a couple of those areas just to blend it back in. So there's the lid for the BT2, sorry, IB2. As you can see, it's a completely different colour. It's a shame, really. It's something small like that detail in the production of a product that really does make all the difference. You should in theory be able to grab something and know that what you're putting down is what you're getting. You wouldn't accept it with a colour pencil. I mean, even pro markers, at least they're pretty 98%. What's on the cover of a pro marker is what the ink you get out of. That's the benefit of it. But yeah, this is definitely teal and not just a blue. Since I haven't picked anything as a shading one, I'm just going to go over with the same colour, see if we can get some definition. Which I should be able to do because the first layer should now be dry. So they are very, very fast drying. Okay, so we're going to try... did I put that pen away? I did. I did. So you've got blue-grey. Okay, let's change. I'll call it double check which ones these are. That's too hot. Or warm, should I say. That could come in handy. Right, C, B, G, 2. That's the bunny. Right, so next colour, I'm going to start using the grey. Just tiny bits of grey to add in shadow. This is meant to be a blue-green red, I would guess. Just add a little bit of contrast into there. It's again not a colour I would normally pick. Then IBI, we're going to use just to fill in these. The reason I've gone back to this colour is because there's been quite a lot of bleed from the darker colours. It makes more sense to use this one, which is already in there, and I might just about be able to blend the other mistake colours into it. Now with this sort of alcohol marker, if you put a light colour on top of a dark colour, it will bleed it slightly and bleach as well. Only slightly though. And see where I've got these patches of dark, I can make that into almost like shadowing. It's a win-win. Because this ink over the original parts is already dry, I can just go over that and we get some tonal variation. Give that a couple of seconds to dry. I think my camera angle's playing up. Sorry about the banging and crashing in the background. I think that's about as best as I can get. So my camera is hanging by a string right now, literally. Right, so while it's drying, go back in with that same colour, IBI, and I'm just going to pick out a couple of areas where they're thinking about there should be shadow. Yeah, if you can hear the banging, it's the rest of the household. He said to them, "Oh, can you please everyone keep the noise down and not slam doors?" So they slammed them even harder. Let's take the ice. Bring this one in as well to add a bit more shadow. Now, this bit's the tricky part. I'm gonna imagine it doesn't have a leg there. I say this is the trickier part because it's not there, but it's got to be there. So I'm just trying to draw in what's not there. As you'll notice, a lot of my original work used to be very, very, very 2D. So that's so flat, it was pretty bad. And it didn't have any depth, any tone. It was pretty rubbish. I'll admit it. But by drawing rubbishly and not being a very good drawer, it's helped me improve because I can now look back on all of that work and say, geez, that was bad. How could I have improved it? And I can do what I'm doing right now and go over something and find new ways of approaching it. Ways to make the image look better. Redesign. So that's the image pretty much coloured. I'm moderately happy with that. I could push the tones a little bit more, but for now I just want to get on with the inking. So first off, I want quite a chunky nib. Anything about these micron pens, the information on them just fades. So you end up with a completely blank pen, not able to tell exactly what it was. Easily, I'm sure this was an 8 because of the size of the nib, but when it comes down to the 0.5 or the 0.005, it's much more difficult to tell which is which. So, inking time. So same as before, I'm going around the edge with a much thicker pen. But you know what? Let's change that. This isn't a waterproof pen, it's a real cheapie, but for outlines it gives a really thicker outline, which you'll see gives you quite a different effect for the drawing if the thicker the outline. We'll add in the invisible limb. Okay, I think I've nearly got everything there. Right, so that's my heavier outline. Now I'm going to go back in with that medium pen and just pick up a bit of the inner detail, and then we'll go through with the very fine pen and pick up the ultra detail. Because this was drawn so long ago, I didn't really know much about anatomy back then, so everything is lacking any decent anatomy, which really shows, which is really embarrassing. So I definitely, no matter what you want to draw, if it's people, animals, places, learn the basics to everything. Learn your shapes and your structures, because without them your drawing will not look proper. It won't be balanced right. I mean, it's okay being able to draw cartoon animals, or things in Japanese style, people in Japanese style, but if you don't know the anatomy or how the thing you're drawing works, it's never actually going to look like the real thing. I mean, yeah, you can probably tell what it is, but nobody's going to be kind of over the moon. And yeah, there is a lot of quirky stuff on the market right now. Extra long limbed animals, and Japanese girls have always got oversized busts, but it's not realistic. It's not true to its form. I mean, I'm seeing so many people who are starting up little YouTube channels and showing their artwork, and the thing is, they've gotten into this niche of just repeating the same thing, different forms, yeah, but it's always the same thing over and over again, and they're at risk of only being in that niche. You've got to expand, you've got to learn to draw more than what you're currently doing. I mean, right now I'm doing a degree in drawing. Bit late in my life for doing a degree, but I'm determined to get a qualification, because right now nobody is actually taking my artwork seriously, and in fact on one talk with a lady, she was pretty rude to say the least, but basically I went into a shop and wanted to have my artwork sold there, and went in with a good frame of mind, a business plan, lists of profits and such, and what they could sell the items for and what they would be able to make back. And the first thing she did was ask me what qualifications I had. Knocked me for six, actually. I didn't know how to respond, and it kind of went downhill from there. But her attitude was very brash and rude, and the thing was, because I answered honestly and I said I don't have any formal qualifications in art, I'm self-taught, that was it. She didn't really want to know me. So the qualification thing, I don't want to do it. I don't want to spend the money on doing it, because that money could go towards having a life, but my hand has been forced. So I'm doing a degree, even though I'm not enjoying it, simply so that I can get a qualification and I can be more employable within the art world. I mean, there's hundreds of amazing artists out there who don't have a qualification, who have been picked up by agents, or someone's seen their work and told a friend of a friend of a friend, and word travels like that. But I'm not so lucky, I hate to say. In fact, several businesses where I live, they won't even look at your work unless you've got some sort of formal qualification, and it's very downheartening. But somehow I'm going to get this degree, and then I can stick it up their nosies in the politest possible way. So there's that one reworked. Let's see, trying to get the camera to see it properly. I could go a lot deeper on the tonal layers, but I'd rather see how this dries overnight and see what changes could be made. But straight away you can see, just by adding colour and changing the thickness of the outline and adding more detail and more anatomy, if you like, to the drawing, that it does improve it dramatically. And if you're wondering what this is, it's a piece of fluff. So we'll have a go at doing this little chappy in the corner. And that'll be it for tonight, I think, because that's almost an hour. An hour! Let's have the skies of her before, so we'll keep the sideways facing eye. Let's have some little plate things. Juggle. This little guy isn't going to be a very smart guy. And I can tell you that because where the brain would be is a very, very, very small area. Instead of a standard pupil, we're going to go with a horizontal one, like a goat's. So that's where I was saying about the anatomy. Pay attention to real animals even when drawing fantasy animals, because you can get a lot of inspiration from them. Have his ear down here. Just mark where the trachea and the airway go. Marking a little bit of the muscle. Add some shading. Following that line where the muscle would be. Following the line of the trachea and the airway. There's a muscle that touches around here. And there's that little guy done. I think we'll call it that for tonight. If you're interested in watching any more of these, please say, because the more I know about what people want to see, the more I can produce on those lines. Like I say, I decided today to go through a few of my boxes of drawings. Found this sheet, very old, and I've reworked a few of them. I'm much happier with the new designs, much more detail, better anatomy, and more modern in the technique used. Spectrum Noir Pens, jury's still out on these. I've still got a lot of playing to do. I am actually accredited in using them, so yes, I have done my exams on them. But yeah, we'll see a few hours time if I can add some more tonal variation and make the drawing go off the page a bit more. But until then, I hope to see you guys soon, and take care and have a lovely evening.